Let me ask you this next question. It's just in terms of lifestyle, and obviously we know epigenetics, the manifestations of genes and that, and how they sort of manifest. What about the fact that if you put, the genes in a compromised way with regards to your nutrition, your sleep, your exercise, but they will only express certain genes and they won't express significant sort of SNPs in certain areas?
Yeah.
Because and this is where you say the geneticist is saying, oh, you got a SNP here, you got a problem with that. Maybe you want to just explain what a SNP is, but it really never manifests. And maybe you want to take the cancer, the BRCA gene, and sort of, explain it through that. Because I just find that sometimes, oh, you got this SNP. Well, you definitely going to get this. If you have a bad lifestyle, you will get this. But it sometimes doesn't really work like that.
Yeah. So I'll go through the BRCA example. And just to answer your question, this is the whole point, is to know what your epigenetic habit should be, and to know that if I eat this or exercise like this is the outcome for me, because this is how it changes my genetic expression. So you're right, and everybody knows that that's true. My lifestyle choices drive my outcome, but they still don't know what the right lifestyle choice is for them, because they don't understand what genes are not functioning properly.
Okay.
So you, again, prioritize. Here's the gene that for me makes too much estrogen, CYP19A1. I convert all my testosterone to estrogen. So for a man, that means man boobs, lack of libido, right? For a woman, that means fibromyalgia, potentially weight gain, etc. So change the expression of that gene. And we already know what foods and supplements do that. And it's about prioritizing it. It is absolutely true. A woman that drinks a green smoothie full of, dim on one day will have a very different hormone test result than when she did it next week without that dip, without that smoothie, because it changed the gene expression. The food she ate slowed down that estrogen dominance. So you're going to see a different result. But nobody knows what to do. When we're saying you can know what to do, it's made much easier. So going to BRCA. So BRCA is this, there was an article in CNN on the news in the United States about a month ago saying that cancer rates are down because of miracles like BRCA, where they're now telling young women to cut their fallopian tubes out so they don't get ovarian cancer. And the funny thing is, when you're reading an online article, it usually recommends the next article you should read based on the content. So I just read this article that said cancer rates are down because we're cutting fallopian tubes out. The recommended article was cancer rates in women are going through the roof and we don't know what's happening. Right? So completely contradicting themselves.
Crazy.
It's just this siloed information. Breast cancer rates, by the way. So the US military put out a report saying that in service women, so young service women in the military, there's been a 478% increase in breast cancer in the last 2 years.
478% in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's
And we're
almost
talking about young.
unbelievable.
Yeah, young, and this is military, which is one of the most respected health databases in the world, and it's where a lot of other people go to do their research and learn from. And I think we can again spend an hour just talking about why.
Yeah.
But we know what's going on there. There's immune compromisation, and so all of a sudden people are getting sick. So let's look at BRCA. You're told cut your breasts off, cut your fallopian tubes out, because you have this elevated risk of cancer because the gene doesn't work. BRCA doesn't cause breast cancer. Most doctors still believe this is true. And again, this is what they're told, so they believe it's true. BRCA is a tumor suppressor. So God forbid you have cancer, it's supposed to fix it. And if you have a bad repair tool, you don't do a good job of fixing, which means you're more likely to not survive. But you still didn't answer the question, why did I get the cancer to begin with?
Yeah.
What happened? Right? So the majority of breast cancer happens around menopause age, right? Not all of it, but a lot of it. And what's happening is some women do have the fast CYP19A1 gene that I was talking about, where they make way too much estrogen. And some women do make a toxic version. So before you have your menstrual cycle, you first convert that estrogen into a metabolite. The three options, 2, 4, or 16 hydroxyestrogen, they're called. 2 is good, clean stuff. 4 and 16 are toxic, right? They cause inflammation. Step 3 of 3, how well do you detoxify that toxin? Detox through glutathione, antioxidation, comp, the same stuff we've been talking about. So single genes don't have a single purpose. They do many jobs in your body.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. So now, if you are that woman that's estrogen dominant, estrogen toxic, doesn't detoxify well, then you're making month over month this inflammatory insult in your body. And now you get into menopause. You no longer have a menstrual cycle, so you're not getting rid of it. There's nowhere for it to go. And your body's like, wait a second, this stuff's a threat. I'm going to do something smart and keep it away from the organs, keep it away from the vasculature and the veins. I'm going to go deposit it in fat. And then all of a sudden, where do women have fat? In their breasts. And then you have this inflammatory insult being deposited there, causing inflammation to the ducts and glands that the cellular structure was not designed. Like your lungs and your gut were designed for toxins.
Yeah.
This wasn't. So you wonder why cells degrade, mutated, get cancer, and your immune system's compromised, et cetera, et cetera. So there's your why. There's many whys, by the way, but there's one example of a why. Now, if I take a 5-year-old girl and run her genetics, I already know this. I already know that this girl should not be taking the birth control pill for 10 or 15 years, loading that estrogen and firing that estrogen toxicity. This girl should not be using Teflon coating frying pans and pesticides in her lawn and chemical dry cleaning, because those are all estrogen mimics that load up that estrogen pot and make more estrogen toxicity, right? When she goes onto hormone replacement therapy, as she gets into menopause, which is so popular these days, she has to be very specific about where to intervene. She can't take, for example, estradiol, because estradiol converts into 4-hydroxy, the toxic stuff, right? So now you can, to your point, as opposed to BRCA says 60% chance of breast cancer, go cut your breasts off, right? Versus here's exactly the epigenetic choices you should have: environment, nutrition, and lifestyle, which are the reasons why you get sick.
Yeah.
So if you remove these and add these instead, add some supplements to help you, remove some bad news, it should not happen. It's caused, and we know why it's caused. And this cascade, you name a chronic disease, from autism to hair loss to weight gain to whatever, there's 3, 4, 5 examples for each that we can speak to in this way.